Number 3. Two Vanessa Hudgens songs from the High School Musical movies. This goes right back to what I said earlier about if you guys hate it when you listen to a certain song that makes you feel so emotional that you end up crying because of it. One day at El Centro, I was listening to this song and I was not the only one that felt emotional, even though it wasn't my fault that I cried. One of my classmates named Claire Theodosiou was crying because of this, and I'm sure that she cried first, and then it was my turn. And this was the point where I stayed that way for the rest of the movie, even though the first High School Musical movie was not only my very first Disney Channel original movie, but also my favorite. Maybe with the second one being added to the mix. I haven't seen the third one yet. But aside from that, this song just made me feel so emotional. The first Vanessa Hudgens song was When There Was Me and You. That was from the first one. The second one, joining Zac Efron in this, was Gotta Go My Own Way. And when the first movie was over, that was the point where I asked the teacher the same question, and she said that people get emotional sometimes, and I understood what she meant there. It's not like I'm the only one who gets emotional over certain things. It's like I get emotional for things that just either don't go my way or things that just make me feel really bad. I do love Vanessa Hudgens, though, and she is good as a singer as Zac Efron is, as well as everybody else in the High School Musical movies. But the more I listen to these songs, the more chances it might make me cry. Vanessa, I love you, but do better songs that make me feel happy instead of sad. Number 2. Hands Up by Max Schneider. One song that killed my chances of liking it right from the start. For those who don't know what the movie Rags is about, it's basically a reverse Cinderella. It's a story about a singer named Charlie Prince, played by Max Schneider, and he meets this pop star named Katie Worth, played by Keke Palmer, and they need each other to either sing songs or be perfectly together, but it's going to take some challenges to get there. And I'm sure they got introduced to Rags on Wikipedia, knowing that a former How to Rock star, this guy, Max Schneider, was in this movie, and he was the only How to Rock star to be in this movie. And I listened to a little bit of this song in the trailer, and ever since it just made me cry. And I did watch the movie on May 28th in 2012. Sure, I liked it. It's not my favorite Nickelodeon original movie, but it's still good enough for my liking, even though I like Big Time Movie and Swindle and maybe Nikki Deuce a little better. But yeah, it's not that bad. But when we get to the Hands Up song, it just made me cry throughout the entire time I listened to this. But I will give Max Schneider credit that every other song that I've listened to him sing is really good, including Last One Standing, whether the Symphonique Miller version or the solo version, even though I prefer the Symphonique Miller and Max Schneider version better. Heck, I'm dancing to that song when I'm making my movie, and almost a year later, Max would sing a song called Nothing Without Love. If that song was in this movie, I would have liked it better. But still, I Even though I did like it the way that it is, it just killed my chances of liking it right from the start. Hands up. Hands up. It makes me want to put my hands down throughout the entire song. Now, before we get to number 1, we have a few runners up that I do want to mention. And some of these songs are good, and they're my favorites. Candle in the Wind makes me get blown away in a bad way in the early 2010s, but in the late 2000s, I liked it again. Stand By Me. One day I listened to that song too much, and it prevented me from doing a montage, but I eventually did it. Every ABBA song. One ice skating experience and a bad one prevented me from liking that band ever again. Go to sleep, Teletubbies. The only way that I will sleep with them is if a good song is played. Worldwide. Makes me want to tell the whole world that this song makes me feel emotional. And finally, Troublemaker. That song was a huge troublemaker right from the start. Now, with those honorable mentions out of the way, let's get to it. The number 1 no good, very bad song beat is Just Dance by Lady Gaga and Colby O'Donis. Sophie Hanssel is probably the only person on this entire planet who knows how much I hate this song. Here's an explanation. In 2014, shortly before I graduated from high school, I found a video of the Boobas dancing to this song, which contains clips from Squeaky Socks, Painting the Fence, and Hammock. All 3 episodes on the US and UK Boobas Squeaky Socks VHS and DVD. And sure, the pictures in there were good as well as the clips, but when I got introduced to this, it didn't give me a good first impression, and I cried a lot during watching that video. Even I watched the Teletubbies version at one point. I don't know if it made me cry in that one or other reasons. And I would come across it in different places, like when I did Heroes Continuing Ed on the last day of my 3rd year. Somebody would dance to that song, and just remembering that one bad memory, I would be crying because of it. And I told my parents about this, and I'm sure my mom said that unless she mistaken... No, yeah, it was Need You Now, but she said that she hates that song as much as I hate this one. And that feeling's just been stuck with me, and yeah, I hate this song. Just Dance. The only way that I will dance with Lady Gaga and Colby O'Donis is if I dance to a much better song. So, those are the top 13 no good, very bad song beats, and I'll wrap this up with more adult Linus telling his thoughts on these songs.
You no good.
Yeah, you no good indeed. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go listen to a much better song. Back to regular episodes later today. And you think that these songs stressed me out? Well, none of them are bad compared to what I'm going to talk about on the next episode that a few months ago stressed me out. What is it? You'll find out on the next episode that I'll do later today. Thank you very much for watching this special episode of William Weyser's Childhood Fears. Listen to a much better song, and I'll see you later today for that episode. Until then, don't get scared.